All right, so today I'm out here in my mobile booth, the XL booth with the PSDRID. I'm doing a house, almost all the doors in this house. So if you're doing like 5 or more doors, I think it's going to be a very convenient setup for you. I'm doing it in a booth, so I don't have to breathe overspray. I don't have to breathe, silica dust and chemicals from paint because it's just being evacuated out my booth, out a window right here. So the PSDRID comes with these feet right here. The feet you just install, they just screw right to the bottom of the door. It's not an issue. Nobody can actually see the bottom of the door. They screw on pretty easily. The setup comes with those feet, comes with the whole unit that actually it is mounted on. You'll see that in just a minute. It comes with, I do get a lot of questions, how do I get it off of the PSDRID? It comes with these 2 tools that are used to remove the door. So this goes in the door plunger hole right here, and then there's a device that attaches to the hinge hole that comes with the PSDRID too. So it comes with a whole bunch of them. I don't even know, put it in the description right here how many it comes with. It comes with a bag with the whole kit, so you can do quite a few doors. If you don't have a center hinge, like quite a few of the doors that I'm working with right now, they only have 2 hinges on top and bottom. You're just gonna have to screw it right into the middle, somewhere where a hinge would go, and then you're just gonna have to spackle those and touch them up. It's very simple. I'm gonna be sanding these doors. We wanna prep our doors. It's essential to really sand these doors. They're not like 6-panel doors with wood grain like we typically see where it really hides imperfections and flaws. These are flat panel doors that do not hide imperfections and flaws. You can see right here, this is where a dog was scratching on the door, scratched the door up quite a bit, so we're gonna be sanding it. In my booth, it's really nice because it's got a dustless sanding setup. The 3x4 sander is out here with my Unita EcoSand vacuum out there. We need a vacuum, and it's a HEPA-vac. It's hooked up. There's almost 0 dust when it comes to sanding. When I'm doing doors, I typically only use 2 abrasives. I'll use a 1/2-inch open-celled sponge abrasive, just like this. It's going to attach right to the sander. And if I have to do any flat sanding, I'm going to be using a Pad Saver, Film Tech, or EcoStorm, a 320 grit to do the sanding there. So I'll usually typically either do 220 or 320. If I'm sanding in between coats, it's definitely a 320. Sometimes it's 220. This door is in pretty good shape, front and back. There's no imperfections on it at all. I've already sanded this with the flat abrasive, so now I'm just going to go over the whole door and sand it with a 1/2-inch sponge, and you'll see what that looks like. So just to give you a little discussion too, you can't actually just prep all your doors without having them standing up. I'm just doing it, for purposes to show you, in the booth. I'm working in the booth, so you can do them standing up. You got to be careful and support them because you don't want to fold the thing back and bust the stands out. So I'm kind of holding on to it, but sometimes it might just be a little more convenient to sand them, without having the stands installed. So. And here's just a little tip when it comes to doing any flat sanding. Now, I talked about using Film Tech, so I'd be using Film Tech to sand any type of Bondo or patches that I've done. This one's kind of loaded up. If you've never seen or heard the term loading of the sandpaper, this one's got these spots all over it. It got loaded up with some wet Bondo. That will actually cause swirls. Another thing that will cause swirls is using like flat Film Tech or EcoStorm on a flat surface like this. If you want to eliminate swirls, make sure you just use a 1/2-inch open cell abrasive or even the 10 millimeter closed cell abrasive. So just about done sanding here. We're gonna get spraying. So here's a little device that screws right into where your hinge would go, and this is what's gonna hold the door stable on the PSDRID. And so you can screw one into one of the holes, or you can just miss both of the holes, or however you want to attach it. So I'm gonna screw one into one of the holes, hinge holes, and then the other one will be just a little bit lower. So that sits on there just like that. Now we're ready to set it up on our PSDRID now. So it's gonna set on the stand just like this. So it's got 2 spikes that just punch into the bottom of the door, and then this slides right in. There's behind my covers right here that keep the overspray off. The overspray covers is a device that just holds it right there, which slides up and down to match the height of your doors. The other previous doors I was doing, they're a little bit different, but it's splitting it about half. It's not going to go anywhere. Very stable. So now the door's ready to spray. Now just to give you another little tip too, if you have your PSDRID sitting up out here out front, you're using PaintLine's mobile booth, you're going to get some dust and dry dust overspray coming outside your booth. Now you'll have a tiny bit no matter what, but if you have your PSDRID moved back close to your exhaust fan, it's going to have a tendency to just pull more of it out. So I move it back pretty close to the exhaust fan, so it's going to pull the majority of it out. Then I'm going to be spraying in a manner that I'm shooting my overspray towards this exhaust fan. I don't want to be spraying it, my thing like this and spraying it so it's shooting the overspray out. I'll either start here, work my way back and have my door angled towards that exhaust fan. That way I just control the amount of dust coming outside of the booth. So let's go, we're gonna get ready to spray. Kind of talk about some spray techniques when we get the sprayer set up. So I'm gonna be talking about spraying this door right here and some spray techniques, how I go about spraying doors, how I've been doing it for 25 years now. I spray my edges, the edges of the doors first, and I'll just give you and go over kind of like my logic why I do that. I'm gonna spray this door. By the time I get this whole door painted, the whole entire thing's gonna be saturated with paint. It's not gonna be dry. I'm not gonna be worried about dry feathers or flashing or anything like that. So I'm gonna spray my edges. It's gonna send overspray down this door, which if you just left it like that, just the edges, it would dry and it would be rough. So I guess one school of thought is, if I sprayed this first and then sprayed this second and sent overspray down here, it could rough it up. But even if I did just the opposite, if I sprayed this first and then this next, this is still soaking wet. You're sending overspray right down the door. It's gonna gel in if you sprayed your door correctly and got it completely saturated with paint. Now, I just do just the opposite. I sprayed this first, send overspray down, then I sprayed this second. And I'm not concerned necessarily about it, but that's just, if it was drying so fast, I would rather have this all gelled out and nice and have overspray coming on here and roughing that up. So it's kind of like what you prefer to do. Everybody has their own way of shooting a door. This is my way, and it's especially with a door like this. If you're working with like a 6-panel door that has wood grain to it, which is very common, the doors won't show as many mistakes in your spray pattern, etc., something like that. So if you were like going too fast and you're getting rough edges and dry feathering because you're not overlapping 50% on a 6-panel wood grain door, you're not going to see that as well as you would see it on a flat panel door like this. A flat panel door like this is going to expose all your mistakes. If your gun spits right in the middle of the door, you're going to see it. If you are ending, spraying anywhere in the middle of the door, you're going to see that. If you get, if you got edges that are dry feathered edges, or if it's fingering on the edges, you're going to see that on a door like this. So it's pretty critical that when you get your gun set up, I'm using a Tritech 510 tip, to my opinion, by far the best fine finish tips to doing work like this. That's so critical that the tip sprays out right. I just sprayed it right here. I've got perfectly feathered edges on the sides, but tips performing well. 510 gives you the ability to do the doors faster because we're doing multiple doors, so I can do many doors a lot faster than I would using a 310 tip, which is typically what I would use if I'm spraying exterior gutters, trim. A lot of times if I'm doing trim packages, I'm using a 310. If I'm doing new construction trim, I'll use a 510 if there's flat 4-inch trim. But here we go, we're going to spray this door. I'm going to show you what it looks like. We're going to get the fan, our exhaust fan going, and away we go. So I got this door all sprayed now. I'll give you some final tips on spraying. So once again, I always spray my edges first. You know, this is personal preference, and then I spray the face of the doors. Now, I hit the edges twice because, you know, when I'm spraying a door and I'm spraying, you know, overlapping 50%, that's what you want to do to get on the proper mill thickness, to make sure you have a wet edge the whole time and make sure this whole thing gels out nicely. So I hit the edges twice, just like the front of the door would be hit twice by overlapping 50%. But when I start on my first pass on the end, you'll notice I go up and then go back down because that first pass is not going to get overlap 50%. So I want to make sure I get it two coated. So I'm going to do two passes and then I'm going to cut to my 50%, overlap 50% down the road. When I get to the end, same thing. I'm going to go up and then right back down, hit it twice. So your ends do get hit twice like the rest of the door, so it's all has an even coat. It's really gelled out all the way around. This comes up a lot, you know, on the bottoms of the doors and the tops of the doors. Do we paint the bottoms and the tops of the doors? And, you know, people will bring up, you know, if you don't, it's going to void the warranty. Well, these are interior doors. They're not exposed to moisture. It's not an exterior door. Exterior doors like a front door or a side man door to a garage, if you want it to be 100% protected and it's a brand new door and has a warranty to it, you should probably paint or seal the top and bottom of the door. Because again, these are interior doors, and I would say I don't think I've ever seen a house in my 25 to 30 year career on an interior door where the door on the top or bottom was actually painted. Can you paint the tops and bottoms? Yeah, you can't paint it when it's sitting down like this. The only time you could actually paint it, say, is if you're spraying them flat. Once this door dries and you install it, you can actually roll the top of the door and paint the top of the door. Then you can't do the bottom. So you could, once this thing is painted, you can actually lay it down on a sawhorse and then paint the bottoms, the top and bottom of the door. Or before you actually put it on the stand, that's what you wanted to do, roll the tops and bottoms. I'm 100% comfortable not painting the tops and bottoms of these doors because they are interior doors. And I've never seen an interior door swell, warp, fail because of moisture and because the door was not sealed top and bottom by any painter that I've ever seen. So, you know, that's going to be, once again, another personal preference thing. Now we'll remove this. I'm doing like 10 doors. I'm going to remove it and they're just going to be stacked right in a row.